Okay, we'll start with an opening statement from Bobby, and then we'll open it up for questions.
Yeah, obviously we're disappointed. We thought this was going to be a pretty good year for us. We liked Gonzaga in the title game. I was confident in my Final Four picks. Just sometimes, just that's the way the ball bounces. You can't be a great bracket predictor every year. We've seen that time and time again. But this year, yeah, we thought we had something special brewing. But you just gotta take a step back and tip your cap to the guys who are still in their bracket pools. Very difficult year to predict based on the results. But yeah, we're obviously disappointed. But again, can't take anything away from our guys. I thought they all really battled. I thought we put a lot of effort into making a good bracket. Just ball doesn't bounce your way sometimes, and just got to move forward and learn and go try and get better next year.
Anthony Utter from United Dairy Farmers here, wondering, looking back at your bracket now, what is that one specific pick that you wish you could have back?
Yeah, definitely the Gonzaga pick to win a title game. I like Gonzaga because of the guard play. I like their pace and I like their offensive fluidity. I really liked Andrew Nembhard as kind of the guy Gonzaga could rely on in the tournament. And for one game, he was. I thought in the Memphis game he was phenomenal, and he was probably the reason, along with Drew Timme, that they won that game. But at the end of the day, Sweet 16, Nembhard didn't play great. Chet Holmgren was in foul trouble, and that was a huge part of their defense. And Arkansas was able to take advantage of that. I will admit, though, that out of everybody in this region, I was most worried about Memphis for Gonzaga. I think for somewhat good reason, as we saw. But, again, hat tip to Arkansas. They played a great game. Just a lot of big shot makers on that team between J.D. Note, Jalen Williams was phenomenal, Devontae Davis. So, yeah, obviously we want to have the Gonzaga pick back. You always want to get your championship pick right. Same thing with Auburn. You want to get your final two right for any bracket pool. And this year, neither of them got past the Sweet 16, which is obviously disappointing. But you just got to move forward and learn.
This is future Bobby Douglas from StopCallingYourselfTheDoug.com. Obviously, St. Peter's had a miraculous run throughout the tournament, so just comment on that. And how do you think they managed to pull it off?
Yeah, so luckily St. Peter's didn't really derail my bracket all that much. Past the point where it was already doomed with Gonzaga. I only had Kentucky going to the Sweet 16. So I was actually kind of welcoming that upset. I didn't get to pick it this year, where last year I had Oral Roberts beating Ohio State that hit. This year I had no idea. But credit to Shaheen Holloway. He ran really great sets. I thought all their guards knew exactly what to do. They were athletic enough to hang, and again, none of their games really looked like it was a fluke that they were winning. They looked like the better team in definitely the Murray State game, and I think you could argue the Purdue game as well. The Kentucky game was a little bit lucky, but again, they just made shots between, Darryl Banks, Matthew Lee, Casey Ndefo, Doug Edert. They just had a lot of key shot makers. They were all old. They've all been there for multiple years. And again, Shaheen Holloway, just some of the sets he was running, just so creative and so clever. So yeah, you just got to, again, tip your cap to St. Peter's. I thought they did a really good job in terms of managing the pace of the game and switching up defenses and keeping opponents on their toes the entire game. And you saw that with a Purdue backcourt that struggled with turnovers at times. Again, that was the difference in the game right there. So, again, St. Peter's had a great run. I know they got blown out by Carolina in the Elite Eight, but overall, probably the best. They're definitely the best season in school history. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to Shaheen Holloway at Seton Hall as well.
What did each Final Four team do to get there, and what did you fail to recognize as a mid-level basketball YouTuber?
Yeah, so 0-4 on this year's Final Four picks, obviously not where we want to be. I don't think we've set that standard here. Obviously, our bracket this year didn't live up to that. Going through the Final Four teams, though, with Duke, I just didn't realize how good their guards would be. Jeremy Roach in particular was outstanding, and that was a huge difference for them. That was my biggest worry with Duke, was the guard play, and Jeremy Roach really stepped up, and I wasn't going to predict that. Alongside that, though, like Mark Williams was phenomenal on defense, and then when you have Banchero and Griffin, probably 2 top 5 picks in this year's draft, and they're showing that scoring prowess, it's really difficult to slow them down. And with Duke, I just failed to recognize the talent really meshing at the right time and propelling them to the Final Four. With Villanova, I actually was pretty on the nose with Villanova. I had them in the Elite Eight, and I thought that was a pretty good bracket move. I really liked their poise and everything, but I didn't realize how disciplined they were and how hard it is to capitalize against them because they never make mistakes, and they always make you pay for your mistakes. And I thought that was really impressive. They always play off 2 feet. They're so in control. Colin Gillespie was phenomenal. Caleb Daniels had some great games. Jermaine Samuels played like the Jermaine Samuels of last year, which was really important for them. Justin Moore, obviously, was great before the Achilles tear, unfortunately. But, yeah, that was kind of the thing with Villanova. I had a good read on them. I just didn't put them far enough in my bracket. So with Villanova, I kind of knew what was going on with them. I think they played to what I thought they would, but I just didn't pick them far enough. I thought Arizona was going to beat them in the Elite Eight. And then with Kansas, again, I didn't really know where they would get the scoring outside of Ochai Agbaji, but then Remy Martin steps up. Remy Martin's been very hit and miss all year. He's been injured for a lot of the time, and so I didn't really expect that to be a factor necessarily, but he played really well in all of the tournament games, and that was really the difference for them. That gives them another guy who can create his own shot at the dribble, because outside of Agbaji, they don't really have that. And then another thing with Kansas is that Mitch Lightfoot, I thought, played phenomenally. Coming off the bench, the big thing with Kansas all year was, do they have front court depth outside of David McCormick? And I'd argue for a lot of the year, the answer was no. But I thought Mitch Lightfoot played awesome, especially down the stretch of the year. And I didn't really see that out of them at that point. And then finally with North Carolina, it was just, whenever there's an 8 seed in the Final Four, there's going to be things you miss bracket-wise. For me, the biggest thing was just how good Caleb Love could be taking over those games. I thought he was awesome in the UCLA game. I think he had 30 in that one. Made a bunch of really tough threes, got to the rim pretty much at will. And, Brady Manick was just unstoppable. And then they just have a lot of, scoring-oriented guards, like R.J. Davis, obviously Caleb Love, and then Armando Bacot. Whenever you can get, 19 rebounds in a game and get your team extra possessions, that's massive, for your chances of winning. So I thought North Carolina did a really good job crashing the glass offensively, and then their guards just really stepped up. I wasn't really expecting that to be the case for them, but credit to them again.
Yeah, this is Ryan with Bob's Basketball Hog. There seem to be a lot of favorites that lost early in the tournament. Teams like Auburn, Wisconsin, Kentucky, even Gonzaga and Arizona went down in the Sweet 16. What do you think led to that? Were the top teams just not as strong this year? What kind of got us to the point where it was the highest seeded Elite Eight ever?
Yeah, I think a lot of I think the overall level of play this year was a lot more balanced than it has been in years past. There was no Baylor or Gonzaga this year, and when it came down to it, when I was looking at the bracket, I noticed a few things. One, I thought all the 6 seeds were horrible, and what that tells me usually is that it's kind of a weak bracket past the first few levels of teams. Usually I think if there are good 6 seeds that you could see getting to the Elite Eight, then it's kind of a sign of a strong bracket. I didn't like any of the 6 seeds this year. I had all 11 seeds winning their first round games. And then again, some of these teams, we've seen a lot of these teams kind of just come on late and then they can't escape their early resumes, So with Memphis, they were a dumpster fire first half of the year, and then they finally turned it around. And then they get a 9 seed. They're not a 9 seed. I thought they were, out of the 8, 9s, and even the 7 and 10s, I thought Memphis might have been the best team there, which is saying a lot, So the overall, the parity this year was big, where a lot of 8s and 9s, and obviously we have North Carolina in the Final Four. It was just a lot more balanced. The spectrum of talent was so much narrower than it had been in years past, and I thought that was really a big thing for why we see Baylor lose, why we see Auburn lose. A lot of teams are also older because of the COVID year. And I think that helps. Every team seems to have a lot of experience, whether it's in the NCAA tournament or just playing a lot of college basketball games, and that obviously helps as well. Like we saw with Miami, they have 3 really good guards who have all been there for at least 4 years in college basketball. Obviously, Charlie Moore had been there. That was his first year there, but he was a 6th-year college basketball player. So I think that was kind of the main thing, experience, and then the overall top-end talent this year just wasn't as good as we've seen in years past. So I think those were kind of the main factors looking at that.
Sebastian Refrigerator from Appliances.com, your bracket was really, really bad this year. Were there any picks that you were proud of?
Yeah, I'm really proud of the Iowa State pick to the Sweet 16. I thought I did a good job kind of feeling that pod out. With LSU, I thought Iowa State just had a little bit more offensive upside than the Tigers. I really liked Isaiah Brockington and Tyrese Hunter, and both of those guys ended up being huge for them in their win over LSU. And then with Wisconsin, I thought Iowa State had better athletes, and I thought they had a very sound way to stop Johnny Davis. I said I was worried about the physicality being an issue with Johnny Davis because I saw that Michigan State game at the Kohl Center where I was there. And I thought Iowa State could do something similar, and they did. So I was really proud of that pick. I thought, again, just that's the type of pick that you want to carry over into 2023.
Not only was your bracket bad this year, but also your preseason pick of UCLA failed to make it to the Elite Eight. Comment on them and what went wrong with UCLA.
Yeah, again, it's clearly just one of those years where nothing you do seems to work. With UCLA, I really liked them because they were returning pretty much everybody from their team last year, and then they added Peyton Watson, they added Miles Johnson from Rutgers, and so I really thought this was the most complete team in the country, but it just never really seemed like they had the offensive kind of the offensive dynamism or explosion factor that you really need. Obviously, Juzang struggled in the tournament. Jaime Jaquez was phenomenal, I thought, but overall, the entire year, it just felt like they were a little bit too flat. And I'm not saying that's an effort thing, but I'm just saying that's just it's just a shot-making thing. They had one of the worst shot profiles in the country. They took a lot of contested long twos, and that really hurts them, I think. They don't shoot a lot of threes. A lot of iso ball where they're taking 2 steps inside the three-point line and shooting. And again, that's what worked for them last year in the Final Four. I think I got a little bit too caught up in that when making my preseason pick, and ultimately that bit me in the bud. But again, I don't regret the UCLA pick necessarily because I thought they were going to be a really good team. It was just, they just never really seemed to fully click on offense. There were too many times where they just got stuck, and ultimately that's kind of what cost them against Carolina towards the end. But yeah, so that was kind of my preseason thing, but whatever. What are you going to do?
There have been rumors about your retirement from bracket pools following this season. Are you going to be back for 2023, or is this it for you?
We'll be back next year for 2023. We're already looking at a few teams down the line. We're looking at Houston. We're looking at Creighton. We're looking at Arkansas. And yeah, we'll be back in 2023. Hopefully better than 2022.
Okay, that's all the questions we have today. Thanks, Bobby, for your time.
Thanks.